Good morning, viewers. You're watching NewsX with me, Devika Chopra. Joining me on the broadcast at the top of 10 a.m. is Gaurav Taneja. Now, many people know him as a famous YouTuber who goes by the name of Flying Beast, but today he's joining us as a pilot and a voice with experience to give us his perspective on what happened in Calicut last night. Gaurav, firstly, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast and taking out time. I saw that you were up late till last night, live on your channel also, because as a pilot, it must have been devastating for you to watch what has happened. So, just to begin with, Gaurav, you've shared this flight radar video with us that we'll put out on our screens. If you can just begin by telling our viewers, what do you think happened last night at the Calicut airport?
So Devika, some of my viewers sent me the flight radar video, and if you see, the flight is coming from Dubai and to Calicut. What I believe would have happened by looking at the pictures and the video, the flight was initially cleared for runway 28, and it came overhead. It went outside, which is a regular procedure, and the approach looked absolutely perfect to me. The speed was okay, the altitude was okay. The aircraft began final approach. I have the approach with played with me. So the approach, it had to descend down to around 2200 feet. 3100 feet for runway 28. The speed was 160. That means it was slowing down for the approach. It came down. And to begin the final approach, so you come at an altitude in front when you are aligned with the runway, and then you begin your final descent for landing. So your final descent started from 3100 feet. I think the aircraft went down to 2000 feet, and then it must have realized that there is some weather, because we confirmed from the radar picture, the weather radar picture also, there was weather around Calicut, and the weather reports also showed there was heavy rain and thunderstorm around the airport. It must have realized that they cannot make this approach because there is weather right in front of them between the aircraft and the runway. They made a go around because they came down, and then they went up again. They made a go around, and then they decided to make an approach for the other runway, which is the opposite runway, runway 10. Now the problem here is when you decide to come for runway 10, there were tailwinds reported around 10 knots. So what happens whenever you land into the wind. So if your aircraft is coming like this, you land into the wind, so it helps
Hmm.
you. But once you land in tailwind, it has a lot of effects, like increases the speed, it makes the approach unstable. So they went around, they came again for the opposite runway, which was 10. And if you see at the flight radar picture, the speed was not coming down because of the tailwind. They started their final approach, speed was around 180, 190, and they decided to continue the approach. And I think they could not stop, because now the contributory factors come into the picture, because it was heavy raining. They said there was a rubber deposit at the runway, because the VDC also issued a show cause notice. So what happens? I don't know if the ATC reported the braking action or not, because they are supposed to report the braking action to the pilot before they make an approach. So it depends how is the runway coefficient, friction coefficient of the runway, and how good is the braking action. They decided to continue and could not stop, and because it being a tabletop runway, there were so many casualties.
Okay, and Gaurav, while we were before this broadcast started, we were also discussing some other details, and I want to just get into it, and I'm going to just request, if Amit can just put out some photographs, if we can, or visuals of the aircraft and how it's broken into two. Now we see that the first about 20% of the aircraft has just come off. It's literally just broken off into two parts. So you're saying that the contributing factors here become the high speed of the aircraft and also possibly low visibility.
Yes, low visibility. The speed was not washing off because it was tailwind. They came into the tailwind because initially first they were cleared for runway 28, which was the normal runway, and I also think they did not. They continued the approach, and also once they touched down, the brakes were not working properly because of the runway patches. And I can tell you this: I have operated in most of the runways in India. There are water patches which are not supposed to be there. They're on the runway. I've seen in many airports, like there are water patches, visible water patches in airports like Kolkata, in Chennai. The drainage system is not as it should be, and just standing water. So what happens, Devika, once the aircraft lands on the runway, the wheels have to make contact with the ground so that the braking can start happening as soon as you touch. But if there is a small film of water, the wheels, there's a film of water between wheels and the runway, so the braking never happens. It takes a lot of time. You can you can lose good 5 to 6 to 8 seconds before the braking starts happening, and that's very very crucial time. You can cover a lot of distance. So basically, you lose that runway length because of the
Hmm.
thin film of water which is between the wheels and the runway. So, and also sometimes what happens when the aircraft lands on the runway continuously, there is a rubber which gets deposited on the runway. That coupled with rains makes it all the more slippery, and the braking action goes for a toss.
Okay, so as you mentioned, and like I said, we've also accessed this DGCA show cause notice that was issued in 2019, and I'll come to that in just a moment. But then, Gaurav, I also want to understand from you in such circumstances, especially when it's a tabletop runway, when it's the environment is anyway not in your support, in your favor, how crucial does the role of the ground staff then become in communicating with the pilot in such situations?
I think ATC must have advised that what are the winds. The winds are not favoring you. I don't know what are the exact winds, but I think some aircrafts have a limitation of 10 knots. Some aircrafts have a limitation of 15 knots. I don't know what was the limitation. It also depends on what their company allows. But if they decided to continue with the approach, I'm assuming it was within the limitation. And I mean, landing in 10 knots, people have done it because it is allowed by the company and the operator. But now it is coupled with lot of other things like wet runway, rubber deposits on the runway, and also if there is no RISA provided, so there is a thing called RISA, which is runway end safety area. In case the aircraft overshoots, there is no way you can save lives of the people. Visa has to be provided. There's a report in front of me which was issued right after the Mangalore crash in 2011. Captain Mohan has issued the report. He said runway 10 should not be used for landing in Calicut because it does not have the required visa. But still, it was used. I don't know under what conditions, but this is what happens. Accident happens. There's an inquiry board. They tell you what not to do, what to do. This is the precautions we take. But then I know what goes on in mines. Ki runway length was 9,000 feet. If you go on paper, even if you take tailwinds, if you take everything into calculation, the landing distance will be around 5,000, 6,000 feet. Usually they say, "अरे 6,000 feet है required है, we have 9,000 feet, tabletop है." There is no need to provide a RISA because obviously the plane will stop within 9,000 feet. So this is how we think. There is no need to provide it but there is a Swiss cheese model. There are holes in the cheese.
Hmm.
If the holes are not aligned, you're fine because somewhere the barrier will be broken. But there will be one bad day where all the holes in the cheese will get aligned and you will just go pass through it, and there will be multiple failures and which will cause casualties. This is what happened that day. Everything went wrong.
Hmm.
Even if everything went wrong, अगर end में visa होता, there was a stoppage, a barrier to stop the aircraft, it would have saved lives.
No, but then Gaurav, why is that happening? Now, you are a pilot, and from your flying experience, you can give us all of these details. But I'm sure that this is something that within the community of pilots, these are issues that are discussed. This is something that the Civil Aviation Ministry needs to look into because, like I said, if we study the photographs, it's a very odd angle at which the aircraft has, crashed.
Yes.
So, like you said, it seems as though the pilot was actually just in the end minute when he realized that, as you mentioning, that RISA was not there, that he would actually just go off the slope, and that would have been even a bigger disaster. We would have lost more lives. So here we have a pilot who's actually used, his mind in that moment, and he has taken this call to actually just go into the wall instead of continuing straight ahead.
Yes, I think it was a great decision taken by the captain to veer off and not go just straight and fall into that steep valley, which would have made like entire aircraft just disintegrate. He went a little bit to the side, or it also must have given a little more braking action to stop him, and also in concrete area, if there is rain, it becomes like a slippery thing. Once you start slipping, you will not stop because now your wheels are not rolling; they're just skidding on the runway.
Hmm.
So your anti-skid system also stops to work. You are just skidding on the thin film of water which we discussed, and your speed is not washing off at all. So I think it was a good decision that he veered off the runway. He might have given him a little bit of braking, and then we still had casualty, but I think he saved a lot more lives.
He saved more lives. You're right. We could have lost many lives. But then, Gaurav, I also want to understand from you as a pilot what really goes on then in the minds of pilots. In these critical moments, what do you base your decisions on? How do you make the judgment call?
When critical situation like these come, there is a lot going on in your mind. His first approach, he could not land the aircraft. Now the pressure starts building up in your mind from that approach. He went around. He came back for the second approach, which was on the opposite runway. He knew the tail winds were not favoring him. Now there is a lot of hard work, which no, a lot of work which he has to do. He was overloaded, I think, with work because now he has to prepare his aircraft. He has to align his software for the other runway. He has to finish the briefing with the other pilot that now there is a change in the briefing because and everything is happening just quickly. And now fuel is also limited, mind you. If he takes too much time to brief to prepare his box, he will eat up too much of fuel in this procedure. And now he will have one more problem that if he cannot make this approach, he wants to divert to a third airport. He cannot do that also. So I think there is definitely pressure also in the back of the mind of the pilot. But if he decided to continue and he landed, I think the speed was a little high, which will be more clear once the investigation proceeds and we have data from the black boxes. But it is a lot of pressure on the pilots as well. I agree.
Absolutely, and therefore we need to salute both the pilots who were there last night because they made some very tough calls, and both of them have lost their lives. But Gaurav, then I want to bring you to that show cause notice. Just going to read an excerpt
Yeah.
from it. It says that from the above, 8 points have been listed. It is referred that critical parts of aerodrome required to conduct safe aircraft operations at Calicut International Airport are not being maintained in accordance to regulatory requirements that have been set out, which indicates that the local airport management has not taken timely preventive measures that are leading to this. Why do you think that this is, I was speaking to people earlier, experts who said that, okay, this is routine, it happens, inspection happens every 6 months, as it should. But how is that then, that we're not taking any sort of measure or any sort of action when this has come to our notice? Do you think it's because there are concerns that if we shut down the airport, there will be a huge monetary loss? So let's just do some sort of calm chalao work.
Yeah, that definitely happens, and I think the higher authorities have to answer this time. Now this crash has happened. How long will we wait before another similar crash happens at one of our airports? How long will we wait? I mean, I pointed out a similar issue which was happened with me. I think most of the people are aware on my social media. I have pointed out the same issue at Imphal Airport, and strikingly, when this happened, the thing that came to my mind: Calicut is 9,000 feet, Imphal is 9,000 feet, exact same runway length, and Imphal is more dangerous. Why? Because Calicut, you approach with a 3-degree glide. So, for my viewers, I would like to explain: once you come down, there is a certain angles which you descend with. Imphal has a steeper angle. That means if Calicut is coming down like this, Imphal you're coming down like this. It has a steeper angle. So if you descend on a steeper angle, you have higher speed. So let's say on a 3-degree glide path, your approach speed is 140 nautical miles per hour. In Imphal, that 140 will translate to 146, 147. So you're coming down that fast. And what happens when you're coming down fast? You need more runway length to stop. Now, on papers, they will say this. When I raised this issue in Imphal, people raised, oh, 5,000 feet is enough for stopping, 6,000 feet is enough for stopping. We don't need extra runway, long enough runway. But then you have to take care of what when every conditions are against you. Accidents don't happen every day. They will happen once in 10 years. But are you prepared for it? Are you safe? What is safety? We want to minimize that once in 10 years occurrence also because people's life is important. We are talking about lives here. Now, if in 2011 DGCA was asked that this runway is not safe for operation, they tried and they continued the operation for 10 years, and now 2020 we have an accident.
So is this, Gaurav, then a result of bureaucracy, babugiri, red tapeism, laziness, apathy? Like you're saying, that all of these airports that have been flagged off in 2011, do we now need to then promptly set up some sort of an inquiry into how many of these airports have actually been dealt with? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, all of these complaints that come out, they end up being files, in the office of some babu in India.
Exactly. The end of I think the same thing is going to happen this time. There will be a inquiry, there will be reports, and there will be suggestions. But how many of those suggestions actually come into picture to prevent a future accident? We always take actions once the accident happens. We don't do anything. It is just sitting on papers. We don't do anything to prevent these accidents. And our safety record is not very good. I'm telling you, in India, our safety record is not very good. foreign agencies come for audit, they always degrade us. You can see time and again since 2011, since I'm into aviation, I've been following. The ICAO has downgraded us, the FAA has downgraded us, and then we take action. Oh, we need to do this, we need to do this.
No, but then Gaurav, who's making these calls then? Why do you think that all of your complaints are falling on deaf ears? And if you can also just give us an update on the complaints that you had raised, for which you actually also faced a lot of, action. Now you are putting the lives of passengers first, as your duty as a pilot, but then you're facing repercussions for that, and then there's, going to
Yeah,
be
so what
another
happened
notice
in
issue.
my complaint, this was exactly, so let's say what happened in Calicut yesterday. Couple, so what I raised was, you can couple it with extra more measures. So the company I raised my safety concerns again was, they are forcing their pilots to do 98% reduced flap landing. So if you don't do 98% reduced flap landing, they deduct bonus from your salary, and they say it's a mandatory thing and they can send you for retraining. So what happens in reduced flap landing is, there are two configurations for landing, flap 3 and flap full. So if you come with flap 3, you save fuel. You save around 8 kgs of fuel each approach. So multiply that into how many flights take off every day. Let's say 500 flights take off every day, 500 into 8. So you save that much amount of fuel. But now on airports like these, which are tabletop, on days like when you have tailwind on runway, the pilot should be allowed to use his judgment to make a safe decision. And the number of 98% should not haunt his mind. Imagine now in this case, if when the pilots went around, they came for second approach on runway 10. As I explained, there is so much of going on in their mind that even if you come for 10, if you don't land, you go around, there is weather again setting. And now see, in aviation, the conditions are dynamic. If you see weather here, the weather is moving with the winds. So if you don't take an action within next 10 minutes, the weather will come here and you won't be able to land at all.
Hmm.
Fuel is running out of your hand. So there is so much of going in the mind. And now this pilot, let's say if he has an extra thing in his mind, I have to do flap 3 landing, because if I don't do flap 3 landing, my boss will again shoot a mail to me. So these are the factors which are raised. This is a safety concern, and Imphal Airport being a steeper glide slope approach, and I did all flapping landing, but on the day when I was going to Imphal, I chose that I will do a flapful landing, and I was flagged for that, and that was an issue raised against me. And then I pointed out that this is a safety concern, that the pilot in command should be the final authority to make a decision whether what type of approach he should use and what decision he's making, because he is in the cockpit right there and there. He has to make the decision. You cannot make a decision sitting in your office in air conditioned table chair.
Okay, and I'm glad that you raised it, because, I mean, just listening to you, I'm also very shocked that you are actually putting the safety of the passengers concerned before everything else, before even being flagged off. You are not bothered about, the bonus that will be cut, your salary cut that will be there, the fact that, you will be shot an email, or that you'll be reprimanded for this. And I'm actually surprised that that's not even taken into consideration. Then why put a pilot in the plane in the first place if he can't be the final authority, and if he's going to be hounded
Yes,
by
exactly.
these sort of issues?
Yes, exactly. The DGCA, the regulator, gives full power. Once the aircraft doors are closed, the pilot in command is the final authority of what goes in the aircraft. But Devika, there is always two things. There is, one is operations and one is safety. Safety costs money. Most of the airlines, most of the operators, they want to cut cost on safety so that they can make their
Hmm.
profits go high. And that is, now we have to take a call, which is important. Are human lives that cheap? Are our lives that cheap that we can save a few bucks and let our passengers in danger and operate our aircrafts like that?
Clearly, because if the DGC is saying something and you're saying that, clearly it's some level of commercialization, right? That it's become so commercial that
Yes.
you're okay putting the lives of 190, 200 people at risk on a daily basis.
Yeah, it is. It is totally the DGCS call. If they think they can accept one aircraft accident in 10 years, if they are okay with this data, if they are okay with blood in their hand, it's their decision.
Absolutely. And Gaurav, before we wind this up, because I'm running out of time, but I want to get your perspective on this, since you're a person who's, been facing a lot of repercussions for raising your voice too. And I'm sure several other pilots also feel the same way. That's why they perhaps take to Twitter to just put out one or two tweets. And then, when once something happens, we come out with reports that, oh, remember in 2011, this was
Yeah.
flagged. but it's happened. So, Gaurav, how do we change this mentality? How do we now make this possibly the last such accident? Who needs to be held accountable? How do we bring in that accountability? I just want your perspective on that.
We need more experts. Because we don't have enough experts in the DGCA. We do not have more experts in the investigation body. We do not have enough experts in the authority which is going to investigate the accidents. We need more expert people. We have to find the experts and then make them work and held them. The people who sign the reports, we have to make them accountable.
Absolutely, and I'm glad that you've raised all of these points, Gaurav. Thank you so much for
And
joining us on the broadcast this morning to take us through this. What your understanding of what happened at Calicut is, and of course, our hearts go out to the pilots who've lost their life and the people who've lost their lives, and all of the people who are injured right now in hospitals. We do, of course, hope and pray for the speedy recovery. But thank you so much. We need voices like Gaurav's to come out and speak to us so that we as lay people can understand a pilot's perspective, understand what goes through their mind, because at the end of the day, they will be criticized and ostracized for the decisions that they have to make. But it's not as easy as that. And thank you so much, Gaurav, for bringing us that perspective.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.